This is JCU Conversations, a podcast show from James Cook University, Singapore. Tune in as we ask experts in the industry more about their lives and their approach to success. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Let's listen to today's episode.
Hi, I'm Rachel Ward, a member of the Advisory Board Subcommittee for Social and Health Sciences, James Cook University, Singapore. This is JCU Conversations, a podcast show where we ask experts in the industry more about their lives and their approach to success. Our guest today is Ted Howland, Vice President, Group Sustainability at CapitaLand. Welcome, Ted, and thank you for doing this.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me here.
Beautiful. Well, Ted, I've been really looking forward to this conversation with you today too, to learn more about your career and your journey into the realm of sustainability. Could I start by asking you to tell me some more about your current role?
Oh, sure. More than happy to. Presently, I'm a Vice President in Group Sustainability for CapitaLand. In Group Sustainability, we support all of the CapitaLand assets, business units, and REITs in the more than 240 cities and 40 countries that CapitaLand operates in. So it's a fairly widespread role. Within that, I lead the environmental management and innovation team, and we take a look at the physical risks that may be applicable to our assets, whatever very strange or unusual and people haven't figured out the answer before questions our management asks us. And we also work very heavily with our partners in crime from the stakeholder management team on the CapitaLand Sustainability X Challenge. We've run 3 cycles thus far, receiving over 1,300 entries from startups over 79 countries, and we're gearing up to launch our 4th edition at the end of October. We look for startups, and I guess that here they're called small, medium enterprises as well, that have interesting and new solutions to help reduce our carbon footprint, reduce our water consumption, improve the health, safety, and wellness of our tenants, of our staff, and of our construction workers and our assets, and also to reduce the embodied carbon in the materials that we use. My team is currently piloting 30 different innovations in 45 different assets over 7 countries. So the 3 of us managed to keep fairly busy.
Wow. Well, that sustainability challenge sounds like a fantastic way to find new sustainability products. And it's great to hear that it's an ongoing program at your organization. I noted you started your career as an engineer. How did you get into sustainability?
Very unusually. So I started out as a civil and environmental engineer with my bachelor's and master's degree from Stanford University in California. Right after graduation, I started working for state government in regulatory. And after that, I moved to Singapore. Wife was a Singapore government scholar, so that addresses that question right off the bat. And she convinced me that Singapore would be an absolutely wonderful place for a young engineer to start his career. She was, as with many things, she was completely correct. And I started working for SemCorp in the Process and Technology Group. After that, we moved back to the United States for, I think it was about 5 years, for her to get her PhD. She was an A-star scholar. And I started working for an American engineering company in what they termed as wet infrastructure. So designing water treatment plants, wastewater treatment plants, drainage systems, stormwater systems. After we moved back to Singapore, she was a very patriotic Singaporean. She was ready to start working for the government and settle down. I started working for another American engineering company called MWH. And one of the very interesting projects we did was for River Safari, now called River Wonders. Mm-hmm. The company designed the water and wastewater treatment systems and circulation systems for all of the aquatic animal exhibits. So I know a lot more about manatee poop than I ever thought I would when I was a young student, but yeah, I know it now. And from there, I actually, with that unusual experience, it was a doorway into the Mandai Project, which is the redevelopment and rejuvenation of the animal attractions up around the Singapore Zoo, River Wonders, and the night safari. So I was the first member of the sustainability team there. So diving into the nuts and bolts for not only just target settings, but for the actual designs, how to improve the sustainability, especially the water. I've never actually left water in my career. And one of the high points for myself was that we had okay, we when I was there, now they, have 2 advanced wastewater treatment plants that take all the wastewater from the whole district and treat it to a level that it can be used for irrigation in some of the parks, for makeup water for some of the animal exhibits in some of the parks, and for pathway cleaning or washing in other parts of the parks, which is really neat. And it was a very, very difficult multi-year journey to get to that way. After the designs were mostly complete, lots of concrete was poured, there was a bit less to do for sustainability there. The designs were done. And I was very lucky to be able to move over to CapitaLand and Group Sustainability, and I've been there for about the last 3.25 years, let's say.
Wow, that is an impressive journey. And it's quite interesting to see how you sort of move from engineering through your wastewater or water program into more general sustainability topics, but never leaving touch with your roots. Engineering is so closely connected to sustainability, especially in recent years. Could you share a bit more about how your background in engineering prepared you for tackling sustainability challenges?
Oh, with great pleasure. Our group sustainability team, we've got about 12 or 14 people right now, which again sounds like a lot, but remember the number of projects I was talking about earlier, the scope, the size, so we're kind of thinly stretched. But we have colleagues who are in electrical engineering, environmental engineering, life sciences, accounting, and communications, because sustainability is a really broad field. There's a lot of differentiation within it, so there's the need for a lot of differentiating views. So for my team, my two direct reports and myself, were various types of engineers. So we bring in an absolute love of numbers, love of Excel, and love of analysis, and certain levels of organization, which really help to break down some of the fuzzier concepts into hard numbers, which at least certain segments of our customer base greatly appreciate, because that makes the fuzzy concepts very concrete. I'm doing this because I will get this, this, and this. These are the improvements. This is how it's going to work. And then we have other colleagues who work on events, on getting the word out, because engineers are great with numbers and we're terrible with PowerPoint. A form of torture is letting an engineer give you a PowerPoint presentation. Even mine these days, it could still use some improvement. And we have others that focus on surveys, on certifications, on accounting, on carbon footprinting. So there's a lot, and we have others that focus on safety as well. So there's a number of needs and a large number of viewpoints, and having all this wealth of experience generally gives you the best outcomes you can. You're not in an echo chamber. You're not looking at things exactly one way. You're looking at multifaceted, which makes a stronger I want to say product, but product isn't quite the right word, a stronger output at the end of the day.
I think it's interesting when you talk about the range of different disciplines that your colleagues come from, the different areas that they touch on. It goes to show the great diversity of career options that are available to be in sustainability. I think sometimes people don't realize the breadth of opportunity.
Agree wholeheartedly. So whenever I'm doing any sessions with students or with people entering the workforce, I really try to emphasize that it's not a one-size-fits-all. For sustainability, you're not going to get one-size-fits-all solutions. Heck, even if we're doing retrofits to our buildings, it's not one-size-fits-all. Each one is somewhat unique or has some special properties, so it needs to be a little bit more tailored. And I wouldn't say there's a single major or discipline that you must have to be in sustainability. It takes all types. It depends on your passions, on your talents, on your interests. There is a niche somewhere. But one of the things, at least I find the most important, and I look for when I'm hiring or interviewing, is basically, I call it a flexibility of mindset. And that is, I think, very needed, because sustainability is in some ways it's a newish field. In some ways it's an undefined, the edges of it are undefined. It's not like, say, civil engineering where, it's got concrete, it's got steel, you're pretty set in the footprint. Sustainability has tendrils everywhere. And it also doesn't have 300, 400, 500 years of equations to back it up. Things are always changing, and you don't have perfect information either. You're not going to have 10 years of data on a brand new technology. So you need to be able to adapt and adjust to what you have today to draw the conclusions in a logical and supportable way to convince your management that, yes, they should really be doing this, or they should be doing that, or they shouldn't be doing that. And that's not a skill set that a lot of people have. That flexibility it's rarer than I would like, so I'm always keeping an eye out for it. So I think that is the absolute key for any students that happen to be listening. Flexible mindset, absolutely important.
And I think also that there's opportunities no matter what your discipline is. Yeah, it's good to know. So looking back over the past 20 years, how have you seen the engineering field evolve in relation to sustainability? And what significant changes stand out to you?
20 years. Yeah. Thank you for highlighting my age. Thank you so much. And also for undercooking it a little too. Appreciate it. So I think the biggest changes is that when I first started out, people were talking about sustainability, but maybe by different names. But it was a little bit more on recycle, don't put quite as much to landfill, and lots of good to haves, nice to haves, or maybe nice to consider. There really wasn't the push that I see nowadays. There's not the pressure to do better, to do more, to do beyond the very basics that the government might be forcing you to do. So there's a lot more, I would say, at least concern and also urgency behind it. A lot less lackadaisical, if we can, might be nice to do, we'll think about it. A lot more of it is being baked in at the investment stage, at the design stage, which is good to see, but of course I always want to see more.
Of course. And I think, as you pointed out, it's much more front of mind now. 20 years ago, it was mentioned, but not with the regularity or the intensity now. Okay, so maybe moving on from your career, let's talk a bit more about your thoughts on sustainability. Can you tell me, what do you love about sustainability?
Okay. I don't think I've mentioned it yet, but I have 3 kids, a 15-year-old and then a 15-year-old girl and then 11-year-old twins, one boy, one girl. And I really love sustainability because I want to leave a better planet for them when they grow up. I want them to be able to see glaciers, hike in the snow. Currently they hate snow, but in theory. They love penguins. I want them to be able to see penguins. I want the penguins to still be around. I want them to enjoy the forests I did when I was little. And I want them to have the same opportunities that I want them to have better opportunities than I have. So I love working in a field where I feel like I'm making an actual difference to help create that planet for them. And if I bring it down to a different definition of love, I love sustainability at CapitalLand because each day is a little bit different. Some days might be evaluating an investment asset. Other days, scratching my head over pilot results. Other days, helping my team put together how we're going to go through a pilot, or doing the whole selection process through our CapitalLand Sustainability X Challenge. Or it might be on a podcast like this, or some other event. So each day is very different. And I get to work with some really friggin' smart people, which is just awesome.
That sounds really great. With climate change becoming an ever-pressing issue, could you share with me what keeps you optimistic about the future of sustainability?
Well, that is a great question. I love this type of question too. And what keeps me optimistic, despite being a bit of a naturally optimistic person, is I love history. I love studying history. I don't want to tell my wife how much I spend on history magazines and books, so I don't watch this podcast here. But humans are incredibly creative and inventive. We have done so much in the last 10 years, 50 years, 100 years. And we also do seem to have a tendency to pull it out when we need it. So I'm quite confident and quite optimistic that we can creatively tackle this crisis as well. Also, working so closely with our CapitalLand Sustainability X Challenge, I see so much interesting technology coming up and coming through that it gives quite a lot of hope as well.
Well, you're right. I think we have come a long way, but the sustainability challenges can get pretty serious. Yet I can tell you're really optimistic about the future. Can you tell me what makes you feel that way?
Sure. Well, as I alluded to earlier, I'm old, but I do still have a decent memory. And I remember when I was growing up, when I was much younger, when I had more hair, the attitudes, the technology that were then, and I can really see how far we have come over those decades, how different things are now. Not necessarily always for the better, definitely not always for the better, but I can see how different and how people are applying themselves to this problem. And that gives me a lot of hope.
I think hope is important. Yeah. Okay, well, so what's the most surprising or unusual thing you've learned about sustainability during your career?
Okay. The most surprising, I think, is that I was truly very surprised how certain folks will try to use sustainability as a way to justify anything that's not economic. They'll say, "Oh, why are you doing this? Oh, sustainability. What? That has nothing to do with building a crosswalk here. What are you doing?" And so basically trying to use it as greenwashing, as masking, as a shield, which has surprised me in a negative way. I'm also very surprised how a lot of people still focus on the cost, what they'll call the costs of sustainability. And especially as an engineer, I'm very annoyed because they will only focus literally on one half of the equation. They'll focus on the costs. They won't necessarily focus on the savings, the benefits that sustainability will bring them. They'll just say, this is more expensive than the lowest quality product I could get. Yes, you're saving energy. You're not sabotaging the indoor air quality for your coworkers, all these other benefits that are with better and greener products. And still folks don't like to focus on that part. They'll still be focusing on it costs more, instead of the full equation where they'll show that yes, over the life of the product, you're actually saving money and you should definitely be doing it.
Sounds like that's an opportunity for someone to come and write some sustainability-based business case templates and training. Indeed.
Or if they have a brand new technology, submit it through our CapitalLand Sustainability X Challenge sometime in November. It'll be launching October, so you could always time it right there, but I don't think we've announced the official release date yet.
So with your challenge, it's open for anyone to apply?
It is open for any startups or small medium enterprises. So it's basically for the smaller folks, either new technology or technology that just really hasn't quite taken off yet for whatever reason. And maybe it's because they don't have a good a client will say, yes, we have trialed this. These are the results. We stand behind them. So we're doing it. You should do it too. It is not for the big multinational companies because they have more than enough ways to approach us anyways. So it's also, we're focusing, since our management's a wee bit on the impatient side, on technology readiness level 8 or above. We've tried some lower technology readiness levels, 6s and 7s, but they have longer lead times in general. We'd prefer to hit the more mature technologies, and because we would ultimately want to scale it up to our assets. Yeah. If it's a new technology, it's going to take 4, 5, 6 years before it can start commercial production. We're not that patient. We might still be in line 5 or 6 years from now for that one. That's great. That's wonderful. But we want to be trialing and implementing the other ones first.
If people want to know more, they just go to the CapitalLand website at the right time?
Indeed. Or the information from our previous 3 cycles is up already and stays up. You just search CapitalLand Sustainability X Challenge and you should go right there. You can even spend a couple of hours watching the pitches from the various innovators so you can get an idea of what type of technology we're looking at, what readiness levels, or even if you don't want to apply for the challenge, it's still a very interesting process. And we have gone through various polishing sessions with them. We take the innovators through about a 4 to 6 week mentoring session to help them speak corporate a bit better, because we have a lot of very passionate individuals who also happen to be engineers, and are wonderful at talking to engineers and talking engineering details, and absolutely not so gifted in talking more corporate, more business. And we try to help them provide translation services so that they can make a greater impact and explain why their technology really is so cool without bringing out formulas and very large numbers and Greek symbols.
Fantastic. What a great opportunity. Well, hopefully you'll get some new entrants that you weren't expecting from the podcast.
We certainly hope so.
So maybe if we could talk about some common sustainability myths that maybe you'd like to debunk. Have you got a favorite?
Oh, yes. again, my roots for water engineering are going to show hardcore, is that I've seen so many people in Singapore who want to drink either bottled water or they will have all the very fancy and expensive water filters on their tap water. PUB water is among the best on the planet. It is very safe. It is very good. I've designed the friggin' plants. I know the details. Their water is good. There's very little better. So I know it's not quite exactly answering your question. It's more jumping on a soapbox. But bottled water, you do not need it in Singapore. It is a waste of plastic. It is a waste of energy. It is less healthy than PUB's tap water. There's no bloody need. If you dislike the taste of the water in your area, okay, maybe a carbon filter or something. Maybe it's a disinfection byproduct. Okay, maybe you don't like the taste. Okay, carbon filter. Simple, cheap, easy. Otherwise, no bottled water in Singapore. You don't need it.
What about the solar panels will burn wildlife?
Oh, yes, that's another one on the design side. I've heard all sorts of interesting excuses from folks that, oh, you can't put in solar panels, the wildlife will get burned. Yeah, the wildlife ain't stupid. If the solar panel is hot, they are not going to squat on it and wonder what the smell of cooking meat is. They might touch it once and never again. Or I've even heard, nobody's ever harvested rainwater. How can you talk about putting in a rainwater harvesting system? We've been doing it for at least 3,000 years, probably a lot longer. So they may not be as common, but they're also myths that are near and dear to my heart that I want to stomp whenever I run across them.
Maybe you could share with us some personal sustainability practices that you have incorporated into your daily life.
Okay. Sustainability practices. Well, okay, I'm not doing it right now, but I usually it's in my car. I have this huge hydro flask bottle that I'm always carrying around. There's no need for bottled water. No need for little plastic cartons or whatnot in the meeting rooms. Just bring your water bottle. Everybody does it. My group CEO does it. Everybody does it. Just bring a water bottle. We'll use reusable bags wherever we can. But also, we have a very large collection of reusable bags already, and we're starting to refuse any others unless they can have a very specific parameters. We only need so many. You need to use them a fair amount of time before they have a payback over plastic. We've got a good collection. And in our own home, we've learned through previous hard examples, we've put fans everywhere, ceiling fans in all of the rooms. And even, okay, yeah, I'm a little bit pale, I'm a little bit cold, I'm a little bit insulated, but I can adapt to the heat. We usually have the windows open and the fans on most day, every day, and it's perfectly comfortable.
There's some great tips, easy to do, ones that we can all try. Yeah, thank you for sharing them. Universities like the one we're in today are often seen as hubs for innovation. In your opinion, what more can universities do to support sustainability efforts?
Universities are definitely a key part in the whole sustainability ecosystem. A lot of the newest and most interesting, and sometimes craziest, okay, you have to step back on that one, moderately crazy. Some of the others are really crazy. Ideas come out of universities. And a lot of the foundational research and development is done in universities or their associated spin-offs. So by continuing with that level of support and then maybe taking it to the next level after the technology is matured enough, maybe through our CSXE, for example, universities can provide a wonderful conduit for technology. And of course, they can also continue to foster the spirit of innovation and creativity and help to encourage that flexible mindset that I was talking about earlier that's so very important. I learned so many different ways of thinking about a problem in university that I would not likely otherwise have uncovered. So it's absolutely critical.
So if you were going to give one piece of advice to someone who was aspiring, a university student who was aspiring to work in sustainability, maybe something that you would have liked to have known when you began, would it be that flexible mindset? It
would definitely be the flexible mindset. A lot of information can be taught. A lot of terminology can be learned. But that flexible mindset is really, really important because it's how you take the information that you have and come up with the solutions that we need, that we all need.
So maybe as we come to the end of our conversation, if you were able to travel back in time, what advice would you give to, say, your 21-year-old self?
Okay. So I wouldn't be able to give myself stock tips, yeah? Okay. If I can't do that, I would say that The power of networks is also very important, and I think I didn't do a good enough job of that earlier. Right now, it's just so... I have a very well-developed network here in Singapore and throughout the world, and it's just so valuable to be able to draw on that additional experience, those additional viewpoints. And if I'd had something that powerful when I was much younger, I would have been able to do a lot more and maybe have a few fewer scars than I have these days.
I think that's good advice. Look, Ted, it's been fantastic to talk with you today. I've really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much for being here with us. Before we go, I was wondering if someone wanted to contact you, would you have a way that they could reach out to you?
Oh, sure. The easiest way is on LinkedIn. There are not very many Howlands in the world. I think there's only about 5 of us in Singapore, and we all live in the same address because they're my kids. So if you just search LinkedIn for Ted Howland and Ted Howland or Ted Howland CapitalLand, it should pop right up. And I'm not on all that much, but I promise I will eventually reply.
Wonderful. Well, thanks again for being with us and sharing so much of your journey.
Great. Thank you for having me here. It's been a pleasure.